Well, happy Tuesday, Danielle.
Hello, Tony.
Hi, and happy Tuesday, Rare Leader community. Hey, thank you for joining us. If you're joining us live on YouTube, good day. Facebook, good day. Twitter, good day. I want to start out today's talk um, with a quote. And the quote is, without deep reflection, one knows from daily life that one exists for other people. And that's by Albert Einstein. Self reflection is the school of wisdom, and we're going to be talking about reflection in today's conversation. So, many of you may watch and hear this today. You may have say, I'm going to get these goals done for 2023. I'm ready to go ahead and take charge 23 because that's what a lot of society does. And if you are doing that, congratulations. In our conversation today, what we want to really encourage you is if you've not done this, to invest time to do this. And that's reflecting on the past year. So today we're going to talk about how we go about through our reflection. I'm even going to share you the reflection workbook that we put together. And then if it's something that you want to get, more details on that to come. So Danielle and I, we've been setting goals. I think Danielle, actually, since we first got together years ago, there was a thing that we did about goals, and that was about our health journey. You remember that?
Yep.
And well, the story went is that Danielle and I were living together, and I decided to just start going and working out. And I had different goals I wanted to get. She started to see my results, and she's like, you know what? I want to do that too. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna work out together. And it really started to become something part of what we did as a couple. We set goals around the apartment. They were on the bathroom mirror. We did meal planning together, and it was exciting. And I think, you know, if you're in a relationship, there's power in talking about what happened in the past and learning from it, but also setting goals together. So if you're new to this, I'm going to tell you it's going to take some work, isn't it? So here's what happens. Someone says, I want you to reflect on things. What are some of the first thoughts you think a lot of people have, maybe you've had in the past, Anil, when it comes to reflection?
I think a lot of it is what do I remember and recalling all that's happened over the last year. Um, do I really want to take a look at that? And where do I even start?
Like, why do you guys, for those who are watching, why do you think, one, people struggle with reflecting and looking back? I know, I think for me, where I've struggled in the past and looking back and reflecting, because sometimes it involved pain. It sometimes involved things that I said I was going to do but didn't want to do. And now you're asking me to go ahead and, face the music? Yeah. Because pain plus perfection or reflection equals progress. And without reflecting, one, you're not going to be able to find out, you know, what is the lessons in it. Two, you're not going to be able to share that lessons truly with other people. And I know for me, people ask me, Tony, how have you been a top performing division manager for over a decade in sales? You've had people retire, you've had people get promoted. How? We're sharing that in today's call with you today. So Danielle, let's first start talk about our own personal experience because we literally have a workbook that we go through. And this workbook also includes what we talk about this as a family. When we started talking about reflecting first stuff, and I know you listen to a lot of different podcasts, read a lot of different books, Danielle. When you started to one, think about doing it, and two, going through the process, I should let me rewind on that. One, the thought of doing it. Two, doing it.
Well, the thought of doing it is daunting and overwhelming because a lot of times it comes to the end of the year and I know I didn't hit some of the goals that had set for myself, and so I don't really want to take a look at that. Like I already knew I failed on some of the things that I was trying to accomplish, and then actually once I got done doing it, realizing that I made much more progress towards those goals than I was giving myself credit for.
Yeah. I think so often we put more energy on the 4 to 5 things that we didn't do versus the 50 things that we did do. And that's the same way with me. Like, I designed this doggone thing, I put it together, and I still sometimes procrastinate in doing it, in reflecting. And I know, first off, if you want to truly reflect on the past year, here's what the first encouragement for me to you is. And that is grab your calendar and schedule it. Schedule it. Put it in there. Because if it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. And 2, make sure you have a quiet space to do it. And I think one of the things you said, Danielle, is when you take the time to reflect and actually realize it, you actually figure out, hey, you know what? Actually, I did a lot more and accomplished a lot more than I thought I was going to. And that's part of when you go through this booklet here, where there's a table of contents, and we're going to walk you through a few of those contents here today. But we also have instructions of how to use it, okay? If you want to live a multi-million-dollar life, and I'm not just talking a life with finances, I'm talking a life that you are excited to get up in the morning with. We're talking about reflecting on the year. It's not going to take 5 minutes. All right, so you can actually probably schedule half a day. And you go, I don't have half a day. Well, do like 30 minutes each day. I would encourage you also to print out this workbook if you go ahead and request it. Get some good music to listen to. And then here's the big thing. And this is things that I've actually struggled with in doing my reflections. I want to give you permission to be open and honest with yourself. I want to give you permission to go ahead and be imaginative, to think big, to imagine if you were to achieve X, Y, Z, what would you go after if you knew you cannot fail? I also want to give you permission to be uncomfortable, because you might get uncomfortable actually sitting down with it. Why would being really open and honest with yourself would be important in doing this exercise? Because I think sometimes we don't want to be. At least I don't want to be.
Well, I think if you're being open and honest with yourself, you're going to start to hear what were actual roadblocks and what were actual excuses of them not happening. And I think by being able to be open and honest with yourself, that allows you to hear those different voices as you're going through it.
Share a little bit more about that. What do you mean by the different voices that you hear as you go through it?
Well, I think you hear the voice that says, oh, it's okay. You gave your best effort. It's all right. And you hear the voice that says, you know what, you were just plain lazy and it was just an excuse and there was no reason for you not to get it done. So I
that's
think
a tough one though to hear. What were you going to say further there?
no, I just think that it just gives you that opportunity then to like be real with yourself.
Yeah, they call that self-coaching. But it also makes me wonder, I mean, again, if you set goals down and you didn't write them down, this might be a little tougher challenge for you. And you that's okay. The question is just still okay to be able to answer, even without setting them down. And I think you're right in terms of, when I looked at my goals, like I have my vision board right here for last year. And there was 18 items for 2022 that I wanted to get. I got most of them. We had a 10-day vacation with the family, think I am still gonna get this Champions Cup thing. I had a 20-year anniversary with my bride, aka Danielle. I worked on my six pack. I think it's there now, but it just hasn't been visible yet. Did a men's retreat, and then a couple of the other ones. When I actually look at them, you got to ask yourself the question. This is one of the questions in this booklet. When you write these things down, do they just sound good? Like sound good, goody goals, or are they actually something that you actually want to go through and do? And like that question you asked last week in our conversation is, whatever you say yes to, you're going to say no to something else. So the other part here is you got to start at the beginning and work your way through. And this is called a calendar audit. And initially when I did the first part of this reflection booklet, I didn't go through the calendar right away. I just went off memory. And then I went through the calendar. I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. What about that helps you out going through calendar and stuff like that?
I don't use my calendar as much as you do, so I don't think that my days as well journaled and documented month to month like yours is. So for me, it was just I just have big events in each of the months that was happening, and that's kind of all.
Okay, that's like I said, we're actually sharing with you our experience. So, Napoleon Hill said, "A goal is a dream with a deadline." And the first question that we're walking through right now is, what did you want to have happen in 2022, and what were your goals? So, Danielle, how about sharing one of the goals that you want to have happen in 2022?
Well, if you did your reflection booklet and goal setting from last year, all you had to do was copy it out of there, right?
So this is why she's an A student and I'm a C student.
What did I want to have happen in 2022? Lots of workouts, travel more, debt free, clean house, clean meals was kind of the basic of what my 2022 was to look like, because my word was discipline. So creating discipline in those areas was what I wanted to have happen.
Okay. My one word last year for 2022 was build. And I had a lot of similar things that you do, ironically enough. I had fitness, I had health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, financial health. And I think the other thing is like the goals of making sure that they're measurable, that you want to achieve them, things that you want to experience and habits. And one of the goals that I set out for last year that was very measurable, it was just a habit, but it allowed me to become something, was to have a monthly date night with you. And that was a big thing for me for last year. And because I knew that there's going to be more things put on the calendar, more things being asked of me. So it was important for me to have that quality time with you. The other thing that really helped kickstart me last year was reading 2 books a month. I look back and I'm like, wow, why was I so dialed in the first 7-8 months of the year? I was reading. I made a commitment. I don't know if you remember a couple nights, the last day of the month, that I was reading a book, walking around. And I think that's one thing too, is when you're thinking about, the things that you want to achieve this last year, what habits did you have to create in order to do that? Another question in terms of this reflection was, how did you want to feel in 2022? So you may not have asked yourself this question in setting goals, but through setting those goals for last year, they all pointed to a certain road of how you want to feel. Because everything we do is because we want to experience a certain emotion. What was that for you?
The biggest one was just to be more confident, because I think a lot of what happened in 2020, we got so secluded from everything that it was kind of 2021, when everything started to open up, was a little bit intimidating going back out there. And so 2022 was just really being confident with myself again, and who I was.
I
am.
am, right? And you got to experience some cool things last year. What was probably one, like, what would you say the top 3 things when you look back in your reflection that you wrote in here from 2022?
Some of the biggest things was our anniversary trip in May, and then I think getting to experience through the high school volleyball boys their experience at state volleyball, and then probably the biggest thing that before our first tournament in November was going to a football game without you and just taking Ezekiel. And I think that was probably the biggest thing. I mean, it for me to go out of my comfort zone to drive to Green Bay, find some place to park, and go to this game was kind of a big deal because that was something that I don't think in the 22 years that we've been together that I've ever gone and just done something without you.
Yeah, I know. We're really connected, aren't we? We do a lot of things. I think for me, the 3 biggest things was, of course, our anniversary when we did that Switch Lodge experience. I think that was like awesome. The other thing is that I had an opportunity to coach Ezekiel, to be his head coach again, which is pretty cool. And then that since 8th grade. And that was just a phenomenal experience, phenomenal parents and athletes I got an opportunity to connect with. And, the third one, I was thinking about that. That was a big one. What was it like? I think it was getting promoted to VP. That was a big deal. But yet I sometimes feel like I minimize it a little bit. I don't know why. It was just me speaking out loud on it. So the point of this, and there's multiple questions to go through in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and share with you guys a little bit. There is this document right here in the booklet. What really happened in 2022? Like, how did you fare against your concrete goals? And you write them down, whether you did them or didn't. And when I started going through this a little bit, I remember my feeling a little bit. I was like, initially, I didn't do, I was thinking about the things that are top of mind for me, right? I wanted to be down to 215 of healthy weight, and I didn't get to there. And I literally could hear that voice a little bit, like beating me up a little bit. Then I take a breath, and I'm like, okay, remember, pain plus reflection equals progress. And I was watching this, it was in November, I believe. Stone Cold Steve Austin from WWF. He's been getting all ripped and in extra shape, and they're like, oh, you're gonna wrestle again? Like, what's the reason why you're doing it? He's like, I looked in the mirror and I looked like a fat ass and I was out of shape and not happy with the way I looked. That's why. That's enough. That's what got me going. It was just so real and authentic. And sometimes when we think about the goals that we want to achieve, it's not so much the goal, but who do you want to become in the process? And that's why this sheet is in here in terms of the document of really dialing that in. And there's this question here. What did you want to be acknowledged for but weren't? In your thought, why do you think that question's there?
I didn't answer that question because to me that wasn't anything that was important to me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything to preference that to or whatever, point it to.
And Danielle brought up a good point with this booklet. There may be questions that don't relate to you, and that's okay. You're still going to get an A for completing it. But I think sometimes when we put this here is that sometimes we hold ourselves back because we're not being recognized for something. Like, I wasn't recognized for this. I wasn't recognized. I know that in years past was a thing for me. Whether I was working hard at something or instituted something, developed something, and I didn't get any recognition for it. And I would hold on to that for a while. And that's part of this. It is therapeutic. Because sometimes we got to empty out on things that are holding us hostage and prisoner in order to move forward. And then, of course, the memorable things we've done. We talked about that recently here just a moment ago. And what are 5 big and small things that you were proud of? What about for you? What were five big and small things that you were proud of for 2022? You guys are getting a live talk through because we actually talked through this.
I think the biggest thing was finding the discipline to eat better. Um, One of the biggest things that I think was for us, whenever we go on vacation, we'd have the good intention of working out, and actually being able to do that this time on our last vacation. And then getting down to one of my lowest weights that I've been in a few years. It may not have been exactly where I wanted to be, but at least I made progress towards it. And I think that's something obviously to be proud of and to celebrate. Doing our weekly calls, and then just being accountable to you and Ezekiel, and being up and making meals and sending meals with you to work and to school, to be that in that staple for you guys, to be able to feel like, this is one less thing I have to take care of. I am focused on these other things during the day.
Yeah. And I think, you brought up another good point there of you may have not hit your goals that you want to hit, but did you still make progress? I think sometimes we fail to recognize that we did make progress. So I know I do. For me, my 5 big and small things was that I had a conversation with my daughter in October on where we stood on our relationship, which was good. Coaching Ezekiel's club team I was really proud of that, of how I showed up and coached them. Helped my vice president get recognized for an award, which is pretty cool. And then also, I was proud of our date nights that we did. It's easy to talk about, it's not a thing to do them. So those are some small things there. Now we're not going to give you all the little secrets in this booklet, just to let you know. You're going to have to request it. But I'm going to share just a couple more here real quick with you guys in terms of this. Let's talk about the one word for 2023. You hear about it on social media, everyone choosing their one word. And, there's hundreds of different ways in which you can go ahead and choose a one word focus. And here's the reason why you have one word. We can forget about all the goals that we set during the year, right? It's easy to forget them. But one word, it's simple. And it's designed to inspire you and challenge you. And I'm telling you, folks, if you've not done the one word exercise yet, which you'll find in this booklet, I encourage you to do that. Because the one word, when it comes to you, it might actually make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. You may feel a little bit uneasy, but it just keeps on coming up. It just keeps on coming up. And last year, my word was build. And this year, when I asked my word, I'm like, hey, what's the one word you want from me this year? A couple other words came up, but one just kept on coming at me. And when I started doing the research on it, in terms of, okay, for me, I like to have a good foundation. What does the Bible say about this word? And I'm like, oh, wow. I look at my reflection booklet. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of alignment there. So let's do a quick reveal. My one word for 2023 is diligent. What is yours, Danielle?
How ironic, because my one word is diligent.
It is not diligent. It is not diligent. I mean, if it is, we can have that as a family word too. It's fine.
That was the joke that Ezekiel and I had for you. My one word for 2023 is consistent. Consistent. Okay. Something hit me really big with it is when you're inconsistent, it's hard to be trusted. And I look at that as being somebody that's consistent, that you can depend on, and to be accountable too. So I also want to be accountable to you and Ezekiel. And so I think that requires consistency of me.
Wow. I hope you guys just heard what she just said there. Because that's a big thing right there. If you are not consistent, it's hard to be trusted. Pretend this is my mic and this is a mic drop. Yeah, y'all can tell that I'm thinking about this right now. You gotta tell us more about that.
Well, I just felt like a lot of the things that I started to accomplish in 2022 with my discipline and in that sense, and being mentally strong for myself, and building that foundation also leads into if I'd been more consistent with everything, it would have allowed me to be more of a stable accountability partner to you and Ezekiel in helping you accomplish different things. And so I read that something to that effect in the book, and I was just like, it just really hit me like in the heartstrings, I guess. I don't know.
Did they speak to you? Yeah, I think diligent came to me because, in my new role, I see a lot of different things that quote unquote I want to improve on or make better. And, I think sometimes when you don't have clarity around the goals that you want to set, it's easy to be in the moment person. Oh, we got to do this right now because it's in the moment, because you don't have clarity around it. And one of the questions that is in the reflection booklet is, what values do you want to honor in 2023? And for me, diligent is like staying steadfast, but also being thoughtful in your decisions, not being reactive, but being more proactive. And I thought, if I was more diligent last year, of course, build was my word, but if I want to be diligent in 2023, it's going to help me make a lot better decisions than I did in 2022. And it's not going to help me. It's going to help me enroll and be more collaborative with you and Ezekiel and those people that I get a chance to partner with. And I see a lot of benefits. I don't know how it's all going to come about. I don't know what shape or form it's going to take. But I got diligent and you got consistent. And folks, our son has a word too, and we'll share that later with you. But as we finish up here, Danielle, the point we're trying to make is you got an amazing life that you have been given. And I think by reflecting on life, you're asking yourself, how am I respecting the life that I have been given? And, there's two times now. There's the day you're born and the day you die, and then there's your dash. And when you start living is when you understand what that dash is supposed to be. And reflection is part of that. So final thoughts from you, Danielle, as we close up today's talk on reflection.
I just think it's important to take the time to reflect, and even if you feel like it's not even something that's important to you, it's still something that should be done, just for your own benefit. It's not like you need to share this with anyone or anything. I think just for you personally, it's something that helps to solidify for yourself your confidence and who you are, that you are making more progress than you're giving yourself credit for.
Yeah, no doubt. You have progressed. You have evolved. No matter, it may not be the level that you may have wanted to do, you still did. And I think you need to go ahead and take a moment, like Danielle said, and pat yourself in the back. Because if you don't, who else will? And say, hey, good job. 2022 was good. 23, I'm just going to get better. So we appreciate you guys watching here today. If you have any comments, feel free to put it in the comments. Join us next week as we talk about the goal portion of this workbook. And if you'd like to get a free copy of it now, for being a part of the Red Leader community, just send me a DM and I will send the link over to you. Until next week, onward and upwards.